All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am hype about this next guest right here. Man, you talk about a story. Guy started out as an undrafted free agent, man, out of the University of Arizona. Went on to have an amazing 6-year career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Multi-time team captain. In fact, he was the youngest captain in team history. And yes, I voted for him multiple times. And now he's currently the founder and president of the Golden Charter Academy. Yeah, he's big time, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Robert Golden. What's up, baby? Rob G in the building.
My guy, man. I tell you what, bro, I've been waiting to come on your show for about a year.
Oh, stop that, man. First off, for the listeners out here, Rob G been big timing us for about a year now, man. I was out in AZ. I tried to pull up on him. He was big time. I tried to call him for Christmas. He was big time. Now we finally locked him in on the schedule. I had to call his assistant, and that assistant had to talk to another assistant. It was crazy, but he's here now, so it's all good.
It's all good, brother.
My dog, man. So talk to us a little bit, man. Just starting out, man, what led you to sign with the Steelers as an undrafted free agent? And did you ever second guess that decision throughout your whole career?
Man, not at all, man. I tell you what, right. I've never, interviewed with the Steelers throughout the draft process. I interviewed with other teams, but the Steelers wasn't even on my radar as a team to, potentially draft me or sign me as a free agent. But, right after the draft, man, I got a phone call from Kevin Colbert, and, they offered me to come in and compete for a spot. They knew that they had Ron Clark and Troy Polamalu, and said that, the opportunity to compete for the backup position would be there for me. And, just being true who Troy was, man, I watched that guy before every, game in my high school career, and to be able to share the same locker room with him, man, that was what was most appealing to me, man. So to have that opportunity to play for Steeler Nation, man, it was a dream come true.
Man, that's legendary right there. And shout out to Kevin Colbert, man. If you are talented, he is going to find you, man. He is going to find you,
man. I'll tell you what, man. His eye is for receivers. I'll tell you what, he hasn't hit on a receiver yet, I don't think.
Now, real quick, I had a question about kind of mentors and Polamalu. You mentioned Polamalu, but I wanted to ask you about a draft day story, because we've talked about this before on the podcast with Moats. He has this whole draft story about him getting picked in the 6th round. He thought he was going to go higher than that. Do you have a draft story? You ended up going undrafted. Were you expecting to be drafted? What was that day or days for you like?
Yeah, man. I mean, leading up to the draft, I got a lot of phone calls, and I thought I'd be at least a 4th, 5th, 6th round guy, but
listen,
I tell you what, by the time the mid-6th round came around, man, I turned the TV off, and I was whatever with it. And I remember the draft had ended, and my name wasn't called, and I heard my parents, in the living room, worried about me, and I had to go in the living room and pull myself together and tell them, "Don't worry about me. It's gonna be all right."
Talk about it.
As soon as I finished hugging my mom and dad, man, I got the call from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And from that moment there, man, I never looked back and just knew I deserved to be inside the NFL for sure.
Now, you mentioned Polamalu earlier. Do you have a favorite story? Was it a conversation, some type of maybe great life advice he gave you
Jesus.
that sticks out to you that you remember to this day?
Man, I tell you what, just about how Troy, went about his day-to-day business, man, from taking care of his body to film study, that stood out to me the most. But as I mentioned earlier, I watched Troy before every high school football game. So I remember coming into the locker room, and Troy showed up during the off-season training camp and everything like that, man. And for me to see Troy in person, in the flesh, I can honestly say that was the first time I ever was starstruck meeting Troy Polamalu for the first time.
Wait, so you were watching highlights of him play before you would go out on Friday Night Lights?
Before I went out on Friday Night Lights, man, me and one of my teammates, Brandon Leslie, man, we watched those films, man, every Friday before the game, man. To be able to share the locker room with him, man, it was a dream come true for me.
Man, that's major. It got you out here knocking people out on Fridays because of TP. I like it.
No doubt. No doubt.
Now, man, talk about, man, what it meant to you and what it was like being named a team captain for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then obviously being the youngest player to ever be named team captain in the Steelers team history. When you think about the amount of players that have come through here, man, just talk a little bit about that for you.
Man, I tell you what, man, I was surprised, when I was first, voted as team captain. It was me and Sean Sleesome at the time. When Coach T, man, called me up at the end of practice and said I was a captain, man, I was definitely honored to know that my teammates thought that highly of me, man. And for me to hold that title, man, I still carry that with me till this day. Knowing that I was a team captain for the Pittsburgh Steelers, such a legendary organization, for me to hold that title for, man. So I was honored, man. I was thrilled to be in that position. And, I just tried to always be who I was, a guy that, lead by example. I was a rah-rah guy in the locker room, but when it came to being on the field, man, I just always tried to live life out front, as Coach T will always say.
Facts.
Yeah.
Hey, man, so talk a little bit, too, about your favorite moment as a Steeler, man.
Oh, man, I had plenty of them, man. But I tell you what, man, my favorite moment was in 2012, man. We opened up with the Denver Broncos, and I believe that was Peyton Manning first game with the Denver Broncos that year. Yeah, and we was in Mile High, man, and I remember on kickoff, that was my first time being like in a live stadium. Peyton Manning had Denver going up, man. Steeler Nation had traveled well wherever we went. So just to hear that noise, man, and then the kickoff, you see the lights flash, and I just took in all those moments as knowing it was real. I was officially on the 53-man roster. Playing in my first, official NFL game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, So that moment will forever be one of my highlights of making it to the NFL.
I love it, man. Nothing like it, baby. Nothing like it.
No doubt.
Now, you've been in Pittsburgh for a little bit throughout your NFL career. I know you're originally from California. Do you have...
Right.
Now, Pittsburgh's kind of like a unique spot. Do you have a biggest pet peeve about Pittsburgh, the city, Pittsburgh's people? Was there something like you noticed being an outsider? You're like, yo, this is a little different here.
Well, I tell you what, man, being a West Coast guy from Fresno, California, and going to college in Tucson, Arizona, when I got to Pittsburgh, man, that was my first time ever seeing snow.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I ever had to drive in snow. So at that time, I was in a little Camaro or something. I didn't know anything about driving.
Can't hide that money, boy.
Oh, man.
What's
I
that,
didn't
the
know nothing
Camaro?
about driving in snow, man. So I'll tell you what, the weather, getting adjusted to the Pittsburgh weather was probably one of my biggest things that I had to battle there. But other than that, man, I love the city of Pittsburgh. It was a great time. I told my wife recently, we got to take a trip back to Pittsburgh, just to eat at some of our favorite food spots and, visit some of our friends that we made out there as well.
What was your spot? Best food spot?
Gaucho. Gaucho was one of my favorite spots. I think they know me by my first and last name. I went there so much.
Gaucho, man, that's a good spot, babe, without a doubt, man.
Gaucho was my spot, man.
Now, you recently founded the Golden Charter Academy, man, which will be for grades K through 8, man, in Fresno, California, the hometown.
Right.
Open it up next year in 2021, man. So just talk about, man, what led you to do this and where this passion came from ultimately.
Well, Moats, man, throughout my career, I was always doing community service here in my hometown, whether I was putting on free football clinics, diabetes awareness walk, health and fitness camps, nutrition classes. I did a lot for my community, man. And in 2017, that off season, I was really active with the Fresno Unified School District doing prep rallies for kids and all kind of other things, man, that I did here in my hometown. And as I was doing those, activities or whatever, I noticed there was a big need for our children who were living in, unfortunate circumstances. And me being from those areas, of Southwest Fresno, one of the most poverty areas in the whole state of California, I understood what it took, to kind of get a glimpse of life outside of your neighborhood. Thankfully for me, man, I was able to get exposed to life outside of my neighborhood by, being a highly recruited football player. I got to travel and see different cities and states. But when you come from Southwest Fresno, man, hardly ever do you make it out of your neighborhood to see anything else, So I wanted to create a school that would give our kids exposure to life outside of their neighborhood and also expose them to different career paths. As a Southwest Fresno native myself, man, I know a lot of our kids' dreams are to make it to the NFL or make it to the NBA. But I wanted to provide kids some insights on what else is out there that they can pursue to make them a successful person, as well as, chase their sports dreams. And that was one of my things that I wanted to just come back to my hometown to provide. And luckily, man, I've been blessed to, partner with the Fresno Chaffee Zoo to bring the first K through 8th environmental zoo school in the nation.
Big time.
Right here in my hometown, man.
Big time.
We're definitely excited about it.
Man, I love that, man. That is awesome. And man, just talk a little bit about, man, what's your long-term vision for the Golden Charter Academy, man? This is major, man.
Absolutely, man. My plans here, man, is to, give kids hope for their future. I want to be able to impact kids from the K through 8th level, but then ultimately grow it into a K through 12 school. And ultimately after that, man, take the show on the road, maybe take one to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Take one to Arizona, but ultimately, man, I just want to be able to provide children, man, especially children that are living in underserved communities and living in poverty. I want to be able to provide them hope for their future, to know that, that if they apply their academics and if they're actually fall in love into, their academics, man, the sky's the limit where your education can take you.
Facts, man. Anybody looking for more information on the Golden Charter Academy, you could just go to goldencharteracademy.org, goldencharteracademy.org.
Correct, brother. That is right, man. And I tell you what, our school will be K through 8th, but we will open it up K through 3rd and grow a grade every year until we become a K through 8 school,
Big
man.
Time, bro.
So we're excited about, August 2021. And I find it as ironic, man. I wore jersey number 20 and 21 while I was in Pittsburgh, man. So to be opening this school in August of 2021, I just felt like it was destined for my life to do so.
That's clean right there.
Yeah, I was listening to another interview you did. You mentioned the 20 and 21. Can you talk about that jersey switch there? And even the story behind the 21, because there's like a little bit story there, but then the switch to the 20 is pretty good too, though.
Right. Well, I tell you what, when I was in high school, my high school team colors was black and gold. So we looked at just like the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I wore jersey number 21 in high school. And my mom, she ended up buying a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey, and she put her last name Golden on the back of it. So she was in Golden 21 when I was in high school in a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey.
Let's go.
So when I made it to the Steelers, I was actually number 30. And then I changed to 21 after I made the 53-man roster. Then we got Joe Hayden, and Joe Hayden wanted number 23. He wanted number 23, and Mike Mitchell wanted number 21. But I wasn't willing to give it to Mike Mitch. But I was like, I'll give it to Joe, man. And,
talk about it.
Joe ended up blessing me with a nice donation for the jersey number 21, and I wore 20 for 1 year. And I say what, man, I couldn't complain for what I got out of it for that 1 year.
Hey, man, it's good doing business, baby. That's how it's supposed to be at this level, man. Good business.
Absolutely.
So, man, talk a little bit about, man, what ultimately led to you deciding to retire. At the time, you had just signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. You were on the roster in training camp before you had asked for your release. So, yeah, just talk about that whole decision, everything that went into it, man.
Yeah, man. As I mentioned, Moats, man, I was very active in my community that off season. And, that's when my heart started to change towards playing football. Usually, when you love the game of football, it don't matter what team you play for. It don't
Facts.
matter where you at. You just want to play football. And my heart wasn't feeling like that anymore. My heart was feeling like I needed to do something more in my community to help children out, man, and, provide hope for their future. So when football stopped being fun for me, man, and my heart started pulling me more towards doing community work or being a bigger impact in my community, that's when I was realized, it was time for me to take a step away from football and really evaluate what I wanted to do with my life at that time, man. And, as I took my step back from football, I started working with some local educators here in my hometown. And I told them my vision that I had for Golden Charter Academy and how I wanted to help save children's lives that come from, Southwest Fresno. And we started putting a plan together, man. And we developed that plan in 2018, 2019. We started meeting with the zoo. And here we are in 2020 with a partnership signed with the Fresno Chaffee Zoo to bring the first K through 8 zoo school in the nation, right here in Fresno, California. However, man, when I asked for my release, a lot of people, were second guessing, my decision because I didn't really want to play ball anymore, and at the end of the day, I knew my purpose on this earth was bigger than just football. And I'm just happy to be in the position that I'm in right now, to be able to give our children, something more to look forward to that come from areas like I do here in my hometown of Fresno.
Man, that's big time, man. And big time kudos to you too for even believing in yourself enough to make that decision. Shoot, going through it myself, man, when you make that announcement you're going to retire and people think you still got more time or more left in the tank, they look at you like, man, you're crazy. Look at everything you're leaving. But you hit on it, man. If your heart's not there, man, it ain't the same.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's the thing about football, man. You got to be all in when you playing the game,
no
man.
question.
It's time consuming. It's taxing on the body, man. So if you're not in love with it, man, it can be brutal. Football was never a job for me. It was something that I loved doing, waking up, going to every day. But once it started feeling like a job in Kansas City, I was like, okay, it's time to go.
Ain't that the truth, man? Because you a high energy guy, man. You always, man, you're fun to be around. You know how it goes, man. In the meeting rooms, you always the laugh, man. Like every time.
No doubt, brother. No doubt, man. That's what I try to bring, to the locker room. Just that family oriented, all good backyard barbecue vibes.
Yes,
with you,
indeed.
Man. So I was happy to leave some impressions on some good people.
Now, was there anything else? I know you were talking about doing a lot of work within your community and it kind of shifted your heart a little bit. Was there anything else that I guess kind of prepped you maybe for leaving the NFL, whether it was like a year prior, maybe even 2 years prior? Books you were reading, speakers you were listening to, just, I don't know. Was there things that kind of geared you towards that looking back where you're like, man, yeah, I was kind of heading in that direction anyway?
Well, I tell you what, man, every off season, as I mentioned from my rookie year, I was doing something in my community, man, that off season, whether it was camps or, diabetes awareness walks, whatever the case may have been, I was doing something to try to be a resource to my community. So, throughout my time, man, I felt like everything that I was going through throughout my journey was preparing me for this point of my life right now. And I just look at the whole journey that I went down, as part of the reason why I'm in this position, with people knowing my heart and how I want to, provide hope for children that come from areas like I do. And I tell you what, man, it was just my off seasons that pretty much, where I, planted my roots here in Fresno, California, to do something big for our community, man. And now that I'm retired, it kind of gave me the full, time range to really focus on developing a school. Because I tell you what, man, I thought I was busy when I was playing in the NFL, but putting a school together is way more time consuming than, getting a game plan memorized. So I'm actually at the office, man, from 7 a.m. probably to 7 at night, 8 at night sometimes, but I say it's going to all be worth it, man. Once kids, be able to walk through the Golden Charter Academy doors and actually get a different perspective on what life has to offer them, it's going to all be worth it, man. So I'm just excited to be in this position in my life right now.
Man, that is awesome, man. And definitely keep that grind going, baby, without a doubt.
Absolutely, brother.
Now, Steelers, man, they're sitting at 3-0 right now, man. Just talk a little bit about your thoughts on them, man. What's your impression right now?
Man, I'll tell you what, man, that Steelers defense is biting.
Talk about it. It is.
It didn't look too hot in the first half, but yeah, you're right.
Right. It didn't. But I tell you what, most you would notice, man, that having that edge rush and that pressure on the quarterback, it makes the secondary job a lot easier, So I can see why the secondary, has been playing a lot better this season. Because of TJ and Bud Dupree, obviously there's still some room for improvement on them, which they continually get better on throughout the season. But, man, when you got two edge rushers like that and then you got Cam Hayward and Tuitt applying pressure up the middle, man, it makes the secondary job a lot easier. Covering guys like Odell Beckham and all the other top receivers that's out there in the league.
Man, ain't that the truth?
No doubt.
All right, now the last question we got for you, Five, before you get up out of here. Got to talk about your welcome to the NFL moment, baby.
What was that?
Everybody got one, man. We got to hear it, baby. When that moment where you said to yourself, "Oh wow." Like, we here. It's official. Whether it was good or bad, we here.
Man, I tell you what, man, it's a moment that I really don't like talking about, but I remember, man, I think it was a Sunday night or a Monday night game, man. We was playing the Chicago Bears. And Jay Cutler had took off for a scramble, man, and I'm like, okay, this is a quarterback. He's finna slide. He see me coming. And he ended up, like, throwing his shoulder into me. I was running up to tag him down or whatever, and he kind of threw his shoulder into me, and it made it seem like he ran me over.
That's what it looked like.
I was really caught less than ready.
And now you took it personal, right?
So I took it personal.
Say you a fool, man.
Oh, man, Coach T always had a play, man. Don't get caught less than ready. And I was caught less than ready at that moment. And from then on, man, I ain't take nothing for granted when it came to stepping on that field, brother.
Man, that's funny, bro. All love right there, man. Hey, right. Rob G, my brother, man, we appreciate you again, man, for hopping on the podcast, man. Keep up the awesome work with your school as well, man. That's a big time accomplishment, man. And just ultimately keep being great in everything that you do, man.
Yes, sir, man. Moats and Deke, man, I appreciate you guys having me on, man, and I look forward to coming back on, chopping it up with y'all sometime in the near future.
Facts, bro.
Yeah,
Facts.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, brothers.
All right, peace.
All right, peace.